Good afternoon, my name's Adam Painter. I'm the new leader of Cornwall Council, and I'm here today to announce the membership of the new Cabinet. So thank you all very much for coming along. As I said, I'm Adam Painter. I'm the councillor for Launceston North and North Peddowin, and the leader of the council. The majority of this Cabinet are new faces, certainly new faces to Cornwall Council's Cabinet. We've got 4 returning members, but 6 members who are sort of brand new to their roles, although they have all been members of Cornwall Council beforehand. So we've got no one who's completely new, but we'll go down the line shortly and they'll all introduce themselves and say a little bit about the areas of responsibility that they have. I'm very pleased that we've got a really good spread geographically up and down Cornwall. So we've got myself up at Launceston, Sally who's down in Liskeard, and you've got Sue who's in the far west down at St Just. So I think that's helpful, as well as a mix of, dare I say, ages, demographics, and it's good to have an extra female member on the team as well, because I think that's important to just reflect the demographic of Cornwall, and perhaps a bit more the demographic of the council. I'll pass over now to Julian to say a few things as Deputy Leader.
Hello, I'm Julian German, Independent, Cornwall Councillor for the Roseland Electoral Division, and as Deputy Leader I'm looking forward to working closely with Adam in leading the Council, and I'm delighted that we've formed a talented administration and Cabinet to take Cornwall Council forward in the best interests of the residents of Cornwall. I'm the portfolio holder for resources, which means that I'll be leading on the budget and investment strategy, also the Council's human resources and equality and diversity aims.
Hello, my name is Edwina Hannaford and I'm a member for Lew West, Llansallas and Llanteglos. I'm a returning Cabinet member, but in a very different role. So I've been appointed to the portfolio of neighbourhoods. That includes the Registrar Service, so that's births, deaths and marriages, the library services, events and licensing, community network areas and localism, devolution of assets and services to town and parish councils and community groups, and gypsies and travellers. I'm particularly delighted to be appointed the champion for localism and devolution. The vibrancy and future sustainability of our communities and villages and towns is really important. They are the backbone of Cornwall. So I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues, town and parish councils and other partners to champion the needs, the differing needs of the communities of Cornwall.
Thank you, Edwina. I'm Bob Edgerton. I'm the member for Probus, Tregony and Grampound in the centre of Cornwall there. I'm really delighted to be joining the Cabinet and taking on responsibility for planning and the economy. These are really important areas for the Council and for Cornwall as a whole. The economy includes regeneration, economic growth and development, including the cultural strategy, the skills agenda, relationships with the universities and colleges and with the local enterprise partnership. And I look forward to making a positive contribution with my Cabinet colleagues and with other stakeholders.
Good afternoon, I'm Jeff Brown. Formerly I was Cabinet Member for Communities. I've now taken on the responsibility for transport. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a huge challenge. We've got the integrated transport system with the road and rail linking together. Responsible for 7,000 kilometres of the road network in Cornwall, working with Highways England. Also got responsibility for the airport. And we've got the fastest growing airport in the regional airport in the UK, so we need to keep building on that. Looking forward to doing that. I'm also keen to listen to the community so that we do schemes with them that they want us to do. And in answer to some of the questions that I've been asked on Facebook, yes, I am Cornish and I do drive, and I've driven cars and motorcycles for the last 40 years. I once passed a test to drive ambulances, and I've been a blue light driver for 25 years.
Thanks, Jeff. My name's Andrew Mitchell. I'm the Cornwall Councillor for St Ives West, and I'm the Cabinet Member for Homes. That could be headlined as housing, social housing, homelessness and welfare reform. I'm extremely excited over my new role as the Cabinet Member for Homes. Not only is it my intention to keep the issue of housing at the top of the Council's agenda, I will build upon the successes that our staff have already delivered but I also wish to review how Cornwall Council delivers for the people of Kernow and assess new ways of addressing the problems which a lot of people out there are facing.
Now we're going up this then. Hi, I'm Sally Hawkin. I'm the Councillor for Liscard East, and I'm honoured to be the portfolio holder for children and wellbeing. Lots of things under that, both universal and targeted services, but broadly speaking that's children's social care and education, services for vulnerable children, and particularly looking at how to do something about child poverty. So I'm looking forward to standing up for the needs and aspirations of young people in Cornwall.
I'm Rob Rochell. I'm the Cornwall Councillor for Camelford, and my portfolio is adult care. That is short on headings but mighty in breadth: health and social care integration, social care services for adults, prevention and wellbeing services, and vulnerable adult safeguarding. I'll be sitting on the Health and Wellbeing Board, and heaven forbid I'm now sitting on the Transformation Board for the STP, so I am definitely a poacher turned gamekeeper.
Hello, I'm Sue James. I'm the Cornwall Councillor that represents St Justin Penwith, and I was pleased to accept the portfolio role of Environment and Public Protection. The list that covers is quite broad and wide-ranging, it's fair to say, so I'm going to give a bit of a summary rather than list everything. The things that are absolutely vital to the people of Cornwall is that their rubbish is collected, and that's in my portfolio, and their streets are clean. There's a lot of water in my portfolio, including what I hope doesn't happen too often, flooding. I'm also responsible for a lot of green and open spaces, so whether that be our county farms or whether it be parks. I'm responsible for the fire and rescue service, so people always want the fire engine when they need it, so and I will ensure that that's turning up. And in terms of community safety and also making sure that people's food is safe from farm to fork. So that's a quick whiz through my portfolio. There are a few other details in there.
Hi, I'm Mike Ethorne-Gibbons. I'm responsible as a Cabinet Member for Customers. My business background covers both large-scale and small-scale businesses, so I hope to be able to use that experience in my responsibilities going forward. Those are quite varied. I'll just highlight a few just now. One is partnerships, governance, property. In addition, I will have oversight on the Cornwall independent companies called CoreServe, and that covers such activities as highways, the airport, economic development and housing. So I think I shall be busy, but I look forward to the challenges and representing the people of Cornwall in my new responsibilities.
Thank you everybody for that, and we'll open it up now for any specific questions before we give plenty of time for individuals to quiz us on an individual basis on any of the areas that we're looking after.
Can I ask how you all feel about the general election result, and whether that's a good result for Cornwall?
I think perhaps to start with, I would say that I think the overall the general election result was quite a shock, I think, to everybody. Certainly nobody predicted that we would be going into a hung government with no overall majority. I think clearly we've got to work with whatever we've got. So at the local level, we'll be clear that we'll be working with our MPs positively. We do have 6 MPs returning back in Cornwall, so we do know who they are. So we do need to work with them to make sure that they work really hard for the people of Cornwall. But I think across central government, clearly Theresa May is trying to form that government. We'll know over the days and weeks whether that does turn out to be one that will operate successfully, and see whether there will be a snap election perhaps later in the autumn or winter. But from our point of view, we'll very much be looking to work with whoever's in government. I think we have to be prepared, and certainly as my role as leader, I'll be working very closely with Whitehall and making sure that Cornwall's voice is heard, and we can work positively to deliver our agenda as well as the government's agenda.
Do you think it will be a good thing for Cornwall to have this hung parliament and to have 6 Tory MPs?
I think
Cornwall.
I think for me, a lot of what's happened is actually positive. I think Brexit will be a massive issue for Cornwall and a massive issue for the council. And I think the hard Brexit that was being portrayed previously by Theresa May, I think will soften. I think that's been shown in the general election result, and I think that will be positive for Cornwall and could well be very good. I think clearly we've got 6 Conservative MPs that potentially will be working with a Conservative government, so we will look to work with them to make sure that we can get the best outcomes for Cornwall. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment in on that particular point.
Well, because I've got responsibility for partnerships, part of that will be working with all sorts of groups, including the MPs, and I think on balance, as the leader has said, that is probably good news for Cornwall, because I think they're likely to have more influence than might otherwise have been the case, so I think that is good news.
But will you have any influence with them?
I think so. I think individually we probably know the MPs reasonably well. Certainly in my experience I know each one of them well. Of course 2 of them have been Cornwall councillors, so again they understand exactly where we're coming from. So I think it's a very positive development, and I think it's an opportunity for Cornwall really to stake its place in national issues.
Do you think with a hung parliament that most major decisions are going to be delayed now? Isn't that going to affect Cornwall? Things like the spaceport or replacing European funding?
Potentially, yeah. Potentially it could do. We're not obviously aware yet of any of those details. We've got a number of outstanding Secretary of State decisions that will affect Cornwall on all sorts of planning matters, as well as the items like the spaceport, which will be very important. And clearly we're keen as an administration to try and make sure we can bring something like the spaceport to Cornwall. I think that will be essential for our economic prosperity. So we're hoping the government will stick to a lot of the areas that they were looking to bring forward. So I think time will tell whether we can get those in, but there has been a bit of continuity, so I guess if we'd had a completely different government, then potentially those sort of areas it would have been stalled even further. So we'll wait and see how that works. I think one thing that will be different is that the 6 Conservative MPs, and equally across the southwest, where there's a number of Conservative MPs, they're going to become even more important, because if they don't stick together and if they don't work with Cornwall's MPs, who are important in that very, very slim majority that they have, clearly if there's areas that we're pushing on with the MPs, their voice will be much stronger and clearly will need to deliver for Cornwall, and I think the general public would expect that in Cornwall. So I think you'll be looking to our 6 MPs to really stand up and work very hard to make sure that we can deliver these things and they are move forward as quickly as possible.
On the local front, Jeff,
Yeah.
talking about roads, some of the feedback we get is that the roads and the road works, it's just traffic chaos at the moment. I mean, what are you going to do? What can you foresee happening to improve that situation?
Well, clearly I said from the outset that we need to listen to the communities and respond to their needs. But we've got to do that within a finite budget, and it's a compressing finite budget. So with 7,000 kilometres of road network, there's a huge amount to do. We've already demonstrated, and I think it comes back to your previous question about working with central government, that by working with central government we can deliver early on schemes like the A30 at Temple, which probably wouldn't have been even thought about for at least another 5 or 6 years had we not intervened and brought it forward. And there's a lot of other schemes that we can do the same with. So yes, we're looking already at the now the link from Carling Cross to Chiverton on the A30, and potentially the new link road into St Austell off the A30.
Can I just add to that in terms of my responsibility for CorServe, which I mentioned already? Cormac is a significant part of that. One of the things that is already underway is exactly what it does and how it does it. So I think it's going to be very important that the council and its independent business CorServe do work closely together. So again, to just reassure everybody, Jeff and myself will be talking on the way forward on these very, very important issues.
Can I just come back on the question earlier about issues that might be delayed as a result of the general election? Because there's some things that won't. The merger for health and adult social care, that's happening. There's a target for that. But also the big issues, the sustainability and transformation plan for Cornwall's health services. That work's been going on for 18 months now. That hasn't slowed down because there was an election and won't slow on. So that slowed down at all. So that goal is still there. So there's a huge amount of work, and I was involved in that in the last administration. So there are things like that have got, it's a 4-year timetable for that, and that has to be delivered in that time frame. So although there will be some delays on some aspects, on that one, I know that the work has been going on all the time we've been in Purda and during the elections. So that is absolutely on target.
But there's already been a delay in the STP, hasn't there?
The final business case, yes. That was due out.
A 6 month delay, I think.
Yes, be later in the year. But they haven't. The end date hasn't shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still got to be delivered within the 4-year time frame.
You say you're a poacher turned gamekeeper.
Indeed.
Yeah. But can we expect greater transparency on the STP board now?
I think I'd like to think that whilst I was chairman of the Health Security Committee, that was a byword. It was a given all the time. And I don't see that I'm going to change my view on what should be transparent. I won't change, no.
Good.
I think adult social care is possibly one of the biggest issues facing this or any other council. What reassurances can you give to people that are concerned that, as they reach their older years, they won't have the social care that will help them be dignified in their old age?
It's not a new challenge. I mean, I've been involved in healthcare for 50 years now, so it's not a new issue at all. The issue, one of the big issues, is around funding. Each year for a number of years now, the adult social care budget's overspent. Clearly, we can't continue that, but it's about working smarter. And I think again, the issue around the STP, part of that is not just about finance; it's about working smarter. So I think.
But don't we hear this all the time? It's about working smarter, and it's actually just about giving the area more money.
Yeah, and from the council's perspective, we have been putting more finance into social care, and as we move forward into the administration, we'll be announcing the aims and ambitions of the administration in a couple of weeks' time.
Will that include announcing more money as well as aims and ambitions?
You can be reassured that protecting our most vulnerable, both adults and children, will be a key part of that.
It's a curious way to do it, isn't it? Is after the election we get the manifesto effectively for the council.
The challenge, though, is to keep asking challenging ourselves and saying, have we got it right? It's not just about saying that's the strategy set in stone and we're going to go forward, but can we have some more money to deliver that, please? Yes, we need more funding. There's a commitment to put money in where we can, but it's also about constantly questioning: is there another way of doing things? And sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't, and sometimes it's about more investment. But of course, one of the consistent features of funding for Cornwall is. The view within is that the funding formula is fundamentally flawed. It reflects the needs of people in urban or in cities and in urban communities, but in rural communities like Cornwall, where, for example, one of the indicators of wealth is to own a car. If you don't own a car in Cornwall, well, you're stumped. You can't go to work. You can't do anything. So there are some fundamental flaws with
realistically, that isn't going to get solved.
Absolutely,
quickly, is it?
but we have to keep knocking on the door and asking the questions. So it's a combination of investment and constantly looking at the way we do things and can we do them better.
On adult social care, but can I ask Bob, are you still in favour of an extra 1% on council tax hypothecated for adult social care?
I will support the Cabinet in its budget, I'm sure, but we have a collective responsibility. I've had my personal view on things in the past, and I'm not backward at putting it forward, but ultimately, well, the Chamber will decide on what the budget is for the Council, and I will support the budget once it's implemented.
But you haven't changed your own mind?
Well, I think we all agree that ultimately you do need more money to go into the health and care system. The government is sort of grudgingly accepting that. I think all parties accept that. It's how you actually get it in there. So I'm not changed in my view that the health and care needs more money into it.
Yeah, that's not quite my question.
I think the Cabinet...
Well, I won't be putting forward a budget amendment next year.
I think the Cabinet clearly will will look at all the budget issues alongside our aims and priorities. I think the answer is why haven't we got a manifesto up and running is clearly because we're a joint administration. It's a group of Liberal Democrats working with a group of independents. Clearly the independent group across the council all stood on different tickets to get elected. So by their very nature, the independents are independent. They do work as a group to make sure the administration can work successfully, and clearly they can allocate seats across the council. But clearly we're working together with our groups to come forward with aims and priorities for this council. The Lib Dems did have 3 clear aims, which were around protecting adult social care funding, around building council houses, and around fair pay for people delivering council contracts. So those will still be in there, and we're still working forward exactly where we're going to get to. But I think with the general election, we've seen how important adult social care is, and certainly the demographic that voted. And I think Theresa May made a huge miscalculation about the manifesto. The Tory manifesto, which the minute it was released, almost you could count the seconds between U-turns being made and brakes being put on what they'd done. And certainly things like the dementia tax was hugely unpopular. I think that was partly the reason behind why we've now got a hung parliament and why Labour did so well. So clearly we're going to look at how those things might change. The Conservative government, the previous government, gave Cornwall an extra £24 million as a one-off funding for adult social care over the next 3 years. We're already spending that money, and we're looking at how best we can spend it over the next 3 years to make sure our vulnerable are protected, and especially looking at the delayed transfers of care. And clearly that money has to go towards that to try and solve that problem. So it will be a big issue, and I think the Conservatives, it's probably one of the biggest issues they face, and the reason why they're not sat on a large majority right now. So we're well aware of that, and I think that could work in our favour to get increased funding.
Completely different topic. So, it's a big day tomorrow with the Local Government Boundary Commission announcing the size of Cornwall Council.
Yeah.
Is that an issue that, as a cabinet, you're going to take a view on, or is it more of a constitutional thing for the whole of the council to get to grips with?
It is a constitutional thing that we don't have any say. We've put forward our sort of number. Clearly they're looking at the various options. They will come forward with a number. We don't know what that number will be yet, but clearly when that number comes forward, we'll work with them to look at how that's going to manifest itself.
Well, you as a cabinet will, so you will take a view.
We'll look at it along with the whole of the council. So clearly it will come to the electoral review panel first, and then work its way through the processes. So I'm sure there will be an announcement tomorrow, and we'll look at how that impacts on us. But clearly that won't impact on the running of this administration, and clearly will only impact in 2021 when the new electoral boundaries are in and elections will take place on those new boundaries.
Is there someone who will lead on that in the cabinet or not? It's just that you'll be collective with it, is it?
I think it will probably be myself as a leader, and sort of leading on it in the next few days. But clearly, the council as a whole will have a view on how that works. We do have processes within the Constitution and Governance Committee to make sure that we look at how that's done, and it will be sort of democratic as far as all groups of the council will be looking at how that's formed. So at the end of the day, it will be a full council decision.
Did Malcolm Brown have a role? There was people that had particular roles, wasn't there?
Yeah, John Wood had a certainly under the previous council chaired the electoral review panel. So the electoral review panel hasn't met yet, so it doesn't have a chair or vice chair. So once that happens, then we'll know a bit more about who's leading on that area.
I got one.
Go on, Milo.
You say that your priorities haven't been worked out yet, and you're going to announce some of the important stuff. But one thing you have already announced is that you've dropped the controversial capital culture bid. Is that right?
That's right.
Confirm that, yeah. But you've still got the money in the budget. So where's that money going to go?
I think that was part of the culture budget, so we'll look at that, and that'll be part of the cultural activities. So it's a bit too early to say where that that money particularly will go, but that's something that I did make a decision very early on. Indeed, in the first day I was elected in the council chamber, I think we were timed out of that bid, and it hasn't worked. But I did get a chance to speak to a number of our cultural partners at the Royal Cornwall Show, and they were content with the decision, and they felt that it was the right one because we did simply just run out of time to do the right job of trying to deliver that. But we've got lots of exciting ideas in other areas of culture in Cornwall, and it's going to be important for this cabinet as well.
And one, as you all announced your portfolios and stuff, I noticed that there was nobody mentioned defending Cornish language or Cornish culture.
I think Bob mentioned that he was culture.
Culture is part of mine.
Okay, so is that including promoting Cornish culture and Cornish language and heritage?
I would guess so. I mean, it's early days for me, so I haven't been involved in that before. So I've got a lot of homework to do as to what's involved in that part of the portfolio. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and we're happy to do individual interviews.
Nobody's running off, are they?
No,